Hey, what is going on, YouTube? Aaron here. We are back, ladies and gentlemen. And guys, welcome to day 2 of Germany Fleet Week and the long-awaited Tirpitz. Now, we are, of course, in the Tirpitz B, but both Tirpitz and Tirpitz B actually got the same buff as they were the same ships. Basically, you just spend $70 for getting a nice camo that I actually ended up turning off for this game. But guys, this game embodies everything that this ship is all about. This was a fun one, and truly, I can't remember the last time I had this much fun playing a battleship in World of Warships Legends. Of course, sticking with the theme of the German ships, we have a full Brawling secondary build on this ship. She is honestly probably better spec'd for DPM/accuracy, despite her not being overall that accurate. You're just not getting the most out of these secondaries with the limited range compared to other ships like the Bismarck, the Brandenburg, and even the Zeton there at Tier 7. Specifically for this game, we were running Azurlane Bismarck, as we mentioned, with her unique base trait there, always helping out those secondaries and a little bit of the dispersion. A good day's work, Porcupine, Rohrheit, and Master Mechanic giving us 5 heals, with of course Fight Fire, Haruna, and Hipper as our inspirations. Now, even with that extremely pay-to-win, quote-unquote, now that's a joke, build and the secondary inspirations and the modification slots, we still only get 9.5 kilometer secondaries, so definitely not, like we mentioned, the primary brawling ship at Tier 7. And here's a good example of her accuracy. We get a nice, decent shot on that Nebraska, get a little bit unlucky. We must have bounced off the flight deck there or something. And guys, I know what you're thinking. After yesterday's video, Aaron, how could you kite out? Well, applying this little strategy here works out tremendously well in this game. We kind of kite out, avoiding the initial HE spam and the inevitable onslaught of planes that will take place from this Nebraska and the enemy carrier, of course. As a German ship, you are very well armored, however, you are very susceptible to pretty much any type of aircraft, which is about the only thing that was historically accurate for the German ships of the time. But alas, don't worry, we decided, because our team was playing rather aggressive, that we're going to go ahead and push in and support them. And here is just a perfect example of why you always take shots at destroyers. Yes, even at 16 kilometers. As just watch these follow-up shots, we led them beautifully 1, 2, and good night, thanks for playing. If that Z-44 had escaped, he is a very dangerous torpedo threat to us. Well, moderately, the Z-44 is kind of ass, but that might be one of the ships you guys vote on that I play towards the end of the week. Regardless, though, we took the salvo, and we have another shot lined up beautifully. This Nebraska decided to stop broadside. Those shells kind of, spread out over range, and we get a little bit unlucky as I kind of quick drag the cursor there just to display my frustration to you guys. Also to show my excitement when we shot at that Z-44. But here I've decided to utilize this island cover. Our team has a decent hold of C, an excellent, gain of the capture point at Alpha, and that will come back to be important later on. That is when I notice in Odin going into this Bravo cap, and we decide to switch to the HE. The AP is very strong on German ships, despite them only having 15-inch guns, for example, on the Tirpitz and the Bismarck. You can still do devastating amounts of damage when getting superstructure and, of course, broadside shots. I honestly wish these guns were just a touch more accurate. You do only have 8 of them, and the angle you have to give up in order to get all 8 on exposes a large portion of your armor belt. Now, speaking of that armor belt, we show it at the end of the game as we get another broadside shot, this time with HE. However, you are rather protected up close, which lends this ship to Brawling. But the mistake I see 90% of German battleship players make is they just rush in on the opening bell. They get focused down like no other. I feel like these ships are just very flammable, even with our build. I feel like they are always on fire, speaking of, as we are on fire right now. However, the recent health buff to the Tirpitz puts it near the top in terms of overall HP. 72,500 there is just a lot of HP. That is comparable to, a lot of other Tier 8 and legendary, tier battleships. Of course, those ships are on the lower end of the tiers, respectively. But guys, here is where it gets fun. Again, this Nebraska has not learned his lesson. We still have the HE loaded, and the reason I had the HE loaded was to knock out modules on this Odin. The Odin, of course, contains torpedoes, and you just want to avoid getting in these types of trade situations against another German battle cruiser battleship with torpedoes, as it usually ends up you guys sacrifice 80 to 90% of your HP just to trade your 2 or 3% torpedo accuracy. Don't look now, everyone. We are living the German brawling battleship dream. We have our secondaries going. We are pushing into torpedo range, and we are shooting a third ship. A little bit unlucky on the accuracy there. We selected the low health Nebraska with our secondaries, a secondary priority target. We are moving in on this Odin for torpedoes, and we are looking at that other Nebraska there with our guns. If you can kind of triple manage a situation like this, not only is you're putting your team in a tremendous advantage, but your damage total, your secondary hits, you are just being a nuisance to the enemy, which is what these ships were designed for. Now, we did just use our damage con for a double fire, and honestly, that was probably a little bit of a mistake, as this Odin, like we mentioned, does have torpedoes. We are sailing out of the cap here. It's just not a smart idea to sit in this cap. Speaking of not a smart idea, it is never a smart idea to not really pay attention to the enemy Tirpitz pushing you, which would be me for this Nebraska. He is giving us flat broadside, and despite, not accessing the Citadel, we get a nice 10k hit there on him as he realizes, hey, I should probably look to my left. And he does actually get a nice little return fire, and that is when the Odin decides to make quite possibly the worst play he could make. I'm already behind this island here. There is no chance that he is going to torp me. We get our torps off through that little channel there, and I should have put the back guns on this Odin here. We connect all 4 torpedoes. We're loving that torpedo accuracy. However, they are German, so they do a decent chunk of damage. However, it was not a kill on him, so he is still a threat to us. And if you actually look at the scoreboard, we are only up by points. We are actually tied on ships. So shout out to that, A-flank for getting us that advantage. We take a shot here. We only clear one of those shells, which is an overpen on that island. But our team actually has a good position here to focus fire down this Odin. Our damage con is back, and we do have a good amount of heals left, so we're in decent position here. There is an enemy destroyer which was last spotted right in front of that Nebraska, so I'm kind of waiting and playing this island. I don't want to eat Odin torpedoes, but I also don't want to eat torpedoes from that other destroyer. We take a final shot and get the elimination and defend ribbon on him. That is when we notice this Nebraska has pushed up to 5.4 kilometers. We set our secondary priority target, and guys, did I not tell you this was a tremendously exciting game here? Our secondaries are going off. However, we don't have much time to appreciate that, as the other enemy Tirpitz is coming through the Charlie cap. A little bit unfortunate in terms of those kills. We just missed out on the kill on that Bismarck, and we just missed out on the kill on that Nebraska. We have 2 kills, and if you notice, we are moving in on that enemy Tirpitz there in the Charlie cap. If we can eliminate him, we should have a pretty good advantage to our team. And that was my thoughts until our Saipan got dev struck by the Oyster Yachtland there. So yeah, now my thought process has changed a little bit. We go ahead and pop our heal. I'm turning the guns to see if this destroyer pops up. We do have a friendly summoner still alive, and he actually makes a pretty clutch play at the end. And honestly, I would have liked to help him and hunt down this carrier. However, I have kind of put myself in a predetermined destiny here. 2 Tirpitz that are sailing straight at each other. You guys already know what is about to happen. His secondaries are going off. My secondaries are going off. I switched to the HE to try and knock out his torpedo tubes, and we actually do so. We launch our right side just a bit short, but it was not short enough. It was not as short as Zatu. Sorry, no, I'm just kidding. Zatu's not that short. But the reason we did that, as you can see, he turns in. So again, just judging torpedoes like that, and of course, that's kind of a little bit of a mistake there in a German battleship, is launching your load too early. And guys, this is honestly, it's a good play and a bad play at the same time. Because our carrier went down, we still have no way to kind of finish off this game safely. We do have a massive point lead as we tick the high caliber there. The Tirpitz also does. We launch our set of torpedoes as he does the same, and mutually assured destruction. I didn't really play that overly well. I put myself in a bad spot. The good news is that Oyster is very low. The Sumner makes a beautiful trade. And here, what I thought was an easy victory: 157, 199 secondary hits, 7 torpedo hits, a few main gun hits. You're kind of just a very armored mobile platform with torpedoes and secondaries, and I think this game perfectly emphasizes how strong these German ships can be in the right set of circumstances. Now, in a situation like this is just a truly unfortunate set of circumstances for this Bismarck. He is actually about to get Bismarcked here by torpedo planes, but you just want to run away in this situation. As you can see a little bit later on, they decide to chase the carrier, and this actually almost turns into a loss. Our Sumner makes a decently smart play. He ends up smoking up, and we do come out with the victory. So an overall fun, decent game, and you can't control your teammates, but sometimes just watching a situation like this becomes very frustrating as he takes the torpedo. The Bismarck gets Bismarcked. I definitely am going to do a video on the Bismarck. It has been such a long time, and for it being such an iconic ship, we have to do a video as he quite literally takes a torpedo. It probably went under the rudder in the game, but it looked like it would have hit in real life, and that was a truly historical little situation there. But a GG to this Sumner here, who made the smart play, smoked up, and hid from the carrier. I can't tell you how frustrating that would have been if he would have sailed right in him simply, to hunt damage. But 157,000, and we kind of, threw our ship away at the end. But a first place finish there, and a pretty decent team score, a few above 2K, and a lot of players above the 1,500 mark there. That's kind of my general average on a win, especially around Tier 7 is 1,500. You should try and aim for that every game. And honestly, some good marks to the enemy players as well. That Tirpitz, he, made sure he traded with me. But guys, here are our upgrades modules, and I do go over the commander guide, but I just had a 12-13 hour day, so I'm gonna finish up this video and head to bed. Guys, please vote on the ship you want me to play towards the end of the week. Like I mentioned, I have a Z52 video. I have a few other German ships. Give me something at Tier 5, Tier 6. Also give me something, of course, just the number 1, but we definitely need some in the lower tiers. Vote on that, go to the comments, type it in, and also vote on somebody else's pick if they already have yours. But that will be the end of the video here as I go over the specs and stats and whatnot. But I love you guys. Have a fantastic day. Aaron out. Peace.